took 5 kiwis and experimented on them to see if we could grow our own kiwi fruit, at least what I thought would be kiwi fruit. One kiwi turned into a chain reaction of trial and error experiments that taught me exactly how to grow kiwi at home the first time so that you can too. Well, this is the story of what happened. It all started with this kiwi. I took it, cut it open, extracted the seeds with a utensil, and got them on a piece of paper towel. Spritzed that with water, and then I folded it and sealed it up in a bag, airtight. But then the hardest part came, waiting for the tails to sprout. I kept checking them religiously, and finally, after about 4 weeks, I opened the paper towel to see little baby tails growing, and at that point, I knew they were ready for a new home. But I had over 20 little baby kiwi seedlings that sprouted on my paper towel, and I knew that I needed to give us options here just in case this happened to fail. I decided I would experiment. I did 2 things to make that dream a reality and give us optimal conditions for successful growth. First, I planted some baby seedlings in soil that I would keep outside in a little pot. Next, I planted some baby seedlings in my grow box that I would keep indoors. Well, of course, the hardest part came again, waiting for the tails to germinate even more inside the soil beds. I was excited to see what would grow faster, indoor or outdoor, grow box or natural light, and well, this was the progress of the grow box kiwi, and this was the progress of the kiwi that we kept outside. But I was confused as ever to see that the plant I left outside was growing so slowly that I thought it actually stopped growing altogether for a few weeks. And the grow box kiwi plant was actually turning red. I later learned the redness could either be due to too much sunlight, which we knew was not the case because it was in the grow box indoors, or it could be a sign of stress or nutrient deficiency since kiwi plants require specific soil conditions to thrive. And although I didn't throw the plants out, of course we wouldn't do that, as I waited, I got pretty curious to learn why the kiwi plant wasn't growing as fast as some of my other plants, like my watermelon and carrots, next to it turning red altogether. I just wanted it to happen faster, okay? During this time, of course, I was always looking for some snacks. And one day, as I was scrummaging around my fridge to find a snack, I realized I had this old kiwi that was about to go moldy. I think that you know exactly what I was thinking. I was about to get to work. I knew if we grew 100 baby dragons from one old and moldy dragon fruit, then we could surely grow 100 baby kiwis from one old and moldy kiwi fruit. And if you haven't seen that series, go watch it after this video. It's quite hilarious. But so, I packed them in soil, covered it up nicely, and that was the easy part. The hardest part? Waiting to see if we would get lucky and have little baby kiwi seedlings in just a few weeks. Well, lo and behold, I waited patiently, and if you're trying this at home, know that sprouting kiwi seeds, if they're placed in a sunny spot and watered frequently enough, will grow baby seedlings in about 4 to 5 weeks. It could be less, it could be more, it just depends on the environmental conditions you're able to provide to it, as well as the hardiness of the zone that you live in. And that's just about how long it took for my kiwi seedlings to sprout. And as I waited for them to get even bigger, I gotta admit, I got a little bit of a kiwi obsession, and I know that this sounds crazy, but I grew a kiwi plant from the seeds inside of my drink, and it actually grew into a huge plant. Hear me out. I was drinking the drink, the one they got rid of at the place we do not name because I spent too much of my money there on espresso, and I realized there were little kiwi seeds floating in my drink. Well, you already know we had to grow them, and we needed options here. I tried germinating some on a piece of paper towel, and I've tried planting some in soil to see which would sprout first. I removed the dehydrated seeds from my drink, smashed them down on a cutting board to loosen the seeds, and then, to make sure the seeds were actually viable for growth, I used the floating seed test method to make sure we knew exactly which ones would sprout. The ones that float are not viable for growing, but the ones that sink are actually good to grow. And we got quite a few sinking seeds. I definitely thought that we were about to turn into kiwi queens because all you need is one, and we had like 10. I took the seeds that sank, placed them on a piece of paper towel in orderly fashion, then placed some of the fruit directly in soil. I gotta admit, I got a bit lazy to do that floating seed test method all over again when I could just plop the kiwi fruit pieces right in soil. So we did just that, and once they were all inside, I covered it with more soil and waited. First, I checked on the germinating seeds. At first, I was really excited to open the paper towel to see that the little seeds looked like they were starting to poke out little tails. But after about 5 days, the tails seemed like they started to shrink, or or they just weren't really growing, and I was losing a bit of hope but really banking on this soil kiwi. Well, this was the progress of the soil plant, and boy, was I excited when I walked outside one morning to see that there was one little sprout. And what did I tell you? In order to be a kiwi queen, all you need is one little sprout. I basically jumped for joy and watched it daily, and as soon as it grew big enough, the winter was about to come around in full force since I live in Canada, which most of you know. And if I wanted to give this plant a real shot at survival, I had to bring it inside and place it in my grow box. I did just that, but I was nervous it would turn red like the first one we tried, but nonetheless, I really had no other choice, and this was the progress. Can you believe it? A whole winter passed, and by the end of it, this is what it looked like, and it was ready to be placed back outside. So you know I did just that, and I waited for it to sprout even faster since the ones outside are prone to growing a lot faster. And I also learned that it's actually pretty good for your plants to bring them inside for the winter and then place them back outside for the summer because it helps them branch out more and grow hardier. So I had a lot of faith until one day I went outside to see my dog running after something, and I was like, oh no, I gotta go check the plant. But this is what the plant looked like. And guys, we have a garden doggy who barks and chases after the squirrels when they come, but I still could not combat those families of 17 because they let their children feast on my child. So immediately, I brought it inside, but I was feeling really defeated at this point because I spent almost one full year growing this thing, but the only good thing I knew about this is that sometimes plants flourish even more when you cut their stem off. If you've seen my avocado journey, then you know it really works. And even though in this case it was bitten off by those angry families of squirrels, it only really meant that maybe it would survive and flourish even more. It was also a continuous process of teaching the skills of patience and perseverance and trials and errors. You already know that by now, but these things truly are like children. And guess what? As soon as I brought it inside, it started to sprout again, and like really fast. I decided I was definitely keeping that inside from now on, and as I waited for it to continue growing, I learned something pretty fascinating, that there is something called kiwi berries. They're essentially tiny kiwis, and they're so darn cute, and I knew my kiwi journey would not be complete without attempting to grow some baby kiwi berries. Small but mighty, they're basically just a miniature version of the regular kiwi that we all know and love, but they're smaller and they're sweeter than regular kiwis. Their skin is more smooth, but it's edible. Kiwi berries are a great alternative to regular kiwis for people who find the fuzzy skin of the kiwis unappealing like me. But if you know anything about this channel, I wanted to grow a baby kiwi berry plant. And I learned along the way that you're actually gonna need two plants if you're growing them at home. One has to be male and one has to be female, and that's because kiwi berries are dioecious. That means that male and female flowers grow on separate plants, and that means that you need both male and female flowers to produce fruit because they need to pollinate each other in order to have tiny baby kiwi children. And I actually heard about these little things over 2 years ago, and I was on the hunt for them for all those years, but you cannot find them anywhere in Canada. They're actually native to Asia. They were first grown in China, and they were first introduced to the USA and Canada in the early 1900s. Well, finally, I got lucky enough to find them, and I sprinted home with them to taste them and grow them. I cut open the berry with a utensil, removed the seeds with a little tweezer. You can also do it with an unsharp knife. I rinsed the fruit away, but this is where you can also pat it away with a paper towel, and then you can also soak your seeds in water for 24 hours to soften their outer coating and encourage germination, and then subsequently try the floating seed test method to see if there are any viable seeds for growing. The ones that sink will grow. I didn't soak them, and I didn't do the seed test either because I've successfully done it without that step, and I just wanted this to happen. I was too excited to wait a whole nother 24 hours. I grabbed a piece of paper towel, spritzed it with water. The key to successful germination is a lightly damp towel, not a sopping wet one. I finally got them in orderly fashion, folded up the paper towel, sealed that up airtight, and waited for germination. If you're doing this at home, which you definitely well should be, and if you're not, then go do it right now, you'll want to ensure you keep re-spritzing your paper towel about 2 times a week. I like to keep my germinating seeds in a sunny spot, but controversially, a lot of botanists like to keep their seeds in the dark, but I find it makes them more prone to mold. And you also have to re-spritz the towel less if you keep it in a dark spot, but keeping them in the sun dries the towel more, so you have to add more water, but it's less prone to mold. And I find the drying out of the paper towel really helps those seeds grow faster. But then, of course, the hottest part comes, waiting for your tails to grow and then planting them in soil. Here's where you can add vermiculite, perlite, or mulch to your soil for aeration so that the soil doesn't get too soggy or moldy, and then you wait. But something that's really cool about the kiwis and the kiwi berries is that you can train the plant to grow vertically to conserve space, and to do this you just need to use a trellis or another structure and fix the leaves onto the support system. And plus, I was really excited for this to grow because baby kiwi berries are hardy. They can tolerate temperatures as low as minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Canadians are Celsius, but that's okay, we'll just pretend. And that makes them a good fruit option for colder climates, just like the ones we're growing in Canada. Listen, if we had success growing dehydrated kiwi seeds from our drink into a full-blown plant, we can definitely grow the cutest fruit I'll ever eat. This ain't proof that good things come in small packages. I don't know what is. Okay, well, most good things, you know. And since this was just a few weeks ago, now I await the results of all my kiwi plants that I worked so hard to grow, that we worked so hard to grow. So guys, what started as a single kiwi experiment evolved into a chain reaction of trial and error, revealing exactly how to grow kiwi at home the first time. Our web of experiments turned out to be insane, with growing kiwi in a grow box and in soil, to taking an old and moldy kiwi and sprouting it into a plant, to taking the seeds from our drink and growing that into a huge plant while combating the families of squirrels, and finally landing our hands on some kiwi berries that I personally searched for over 2 years. It's safe to say that this was quite a wild ride. Thank you so much for watching this week's kiwi video. Let me know if you try it at home because I love to stay updated with your plants too. Without you, none of this would be possible. Just remember that on this channel, we take the seeds from inside exotic fruits and grow them into full-blown houseplants that fruit. I'm so thankful for you, and I would be equally as thankful if you didn't forget to like, comment, follow, subscribe. Always remember that
I love you.
And I'll see you next week.